And now from one Anna to another Anna, I want to get your reaction to that Anna and what she just told us.
Well, you know, there's a few things that I was thinking about. The first is, and I know, you know, we're not sitting right in the courtroom, so we don't know exactly every objection that's happening. But one thing that I've noticed is there don't seem to be many asked and answered objections by the prosecution, and they have every right to object.
Oh.
So
what does that
you
mean?
Can't repeat over and over and over again. So it's one thing for me to say to you, you're wearing a tie. The tie is green. It's dark green. I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to build on it. But if I then say 5 minutes later, so I want to talk about your tie, it's green. There can be an objection, asked and answered. I'm not allowed to go over and over the same thing. And what I think is interesting is, one, it seems like the prosecutor's being pretty restrained. Like, let him keep going. Maybe he is boring the jury, and that works well for us. The other thing is, because I'm not seeing all the objections, so I don't know, they may be starting to object to asked and answered. I think it also shows that the judge is being thoughtful about letting the defense do what it wants to do here, right? Not having there be a potential appellate issue where the judge limited what the defense was allowed to do so much that then there's an issue on appeal if there was a finding of guilt. So that's one thing, you know, that I was thinking about as your colleague was reflecting, you know, what's happening down there.
And even to add to that, I think, not only from an appellate, so when I was a prosecutor, one of the things that I wanted to make sure, in addition to proving my case beyond a reasonable doubt, is I don't want to get this case back down on appeal. So even as I am making sure that I'm proving my case beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm also making sure not to make frivolous objections or objections like asked and answered, things like that, because I want to give the defense the room that the defendant thinks, the defense attorney thinks that they need, so that if there's any issues on appeal, you can see that maybe they're harmless error and the whole case will not come back down. It protects the complaining witness in that case. But I also think from a strategic point, the prosecutor wants to be able to point to Michael Cohen and say, I did not choose Michael Cohen. And I think by making those type of objections like asked and answered, things like that, it makes it seem like the prosecutor can be somewhat aligned and maybe that Michael Cohen is a team player. And that is not the image that the prosecutor wants to convey to the jury. So I think from this standpoint, allowing Blanche to just go on and on, yes, it's boring, yes, the prosecutor can stop it, yes, it's asked and answered, but it's not harmful. And from a strategic point, it allows the jury to see, hey, we're not aligned. This is who we had to call on the stand because the defendant picked him.
And we've talked a lot about, just to follow up on that, we've talked a lot about how the DA's office did do a lot of witness prep with Michael Cohen leading up to this trial. But you're saying, Kristen, that that is different than the prosecutor working cohesively with Michael Cohen during the trial.
You got it. You got it. Because at the end of the day, Michael Cohen is the witness they need to call. And so having that witness prepared and like being cool, calm, and collected when answering questions, both to the prosecutor as well as to the defense, particularly for someone like Michael Cohen, who we know from podcasts and prior testimony and prior interactions with him and reporters, he kind of goes on and on and on, and he meanders within answering simple questions. We saw him testify in prior trials doing that and coming off somewhat incredible at times, right? And he hasn't really shown that. We haven't heard that about his demeanor. So I think there is a major difference between preparing a witness and making sure that even though that's the witness you have to call, he's not part of the team. He is just someone that the prosecution must call.
Once again, the defense trying to build a certain image of Michael Cohen, what his interests are and what they aren't. And Blanche just started when the trial resumed. When we took our break, you were talking about the show The Fixer. How long have you been dealing with it? Cohen, approximately 3 months after it was shot, and the next 3 months after that. And then, Blanche, you're also working on a third book. Cohen, I'm considering writing a third book. You said you were considering a run for Congress. Cohen, I did. You said that because you have the best name recognition out there going after Trump. Cohen, yes. You have name recognition because of Trump. Cohen, my name recognition is because of the journey I have been on, and it is associated with Trump.
I also like the next line because I think it's revealing. Blanche asked, your journey has included daily attacks on Trump? And Cohen says, my journey is to tell my story. So, Misty.
Will I be watching The Fixer? Was that your question? I don't know. Look, they keep hammering this home. That this has been the theme. Number one, he's a known liar. He's an admitted liar. Number two, he's got personal animus against Trump. Number three, he actually financially benefits from that personal animus. So we're hearing and seeing this over and over again. And I think there's something, though, that's maybe problematic for the defense. We get it, right? From the jury perspective, you're sitting there, you're like, I get it. But by the same token, is the prosecution going to sit there and say all of these qualities that make him this slippery guy are the very qualities that when Donald Trump worked with him for 10 plus years, he valued? And so maybe that's partially why the prosecutors are kind of letting it just go on the record, even though some of this had already been put on the record previously.
But the interesting thing, and just hearing about the Cohen over the weekend,